Welcome back. Dr. Axel Hoos is Vice President of GlaxoSmithKline, and he's on his way to New Zealand to be keynote speaker at the BioShares conference. His only board position is on a company, Australian listed company called Imugene Limited, which is working on a more effective and natural version of the gastric and breast cancer drug Herceptin. He's here to talk about that and other things. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much.
This New Zealand conference, I had not realised, it's one of the biggest ones in our part of the world, isn't it?
It is a biotech conference focusing on a variety of biotech subjects for investors.
So even though your day job or your main job is with GlaxoSmithKline, you will be talking on what Imugene's doing in that space.
I will actually give a talk on the future of immuno-oncology, which is basically a newly emerging area of science that is using the immune system to treat cancer. Now,
I'm interested in this because we've talked at length on this show, in this Tech Tuesday segment, about what they call personalised medicine, where because of the mapping of the genome and another number of advances, they're making the treatments, particularly for cancer, specific to you. They can narrow it down. Is that what this is, or is this another version of that?
This is the next generation, I would say. So you're right, the genomic science has helped us to understand what are the anomalies in the genome and how can we target them with drugs. That has been quite successful, but it hasn't solved the cancer problem yet. We are about to do that. And I'm taking it a step ahead, but we're about to do that by using our own immune system, which is a natural defense mechanism that can be very effective against a variety of diseases. We just had not been able to figure out how to use it against cancer. And
so does it work in conjunction with drugs?
It can work in conjunction with drugs, but it can also work alone. So the recent observations we have made since 2011 actually are monotherapies. That means we're using immunotherapies alone. We're just beginning now to combine them with the more conventional drugs.
Because we've all heard of Herceptin is obviously a very widely used one, particularly for breast cancer. The impression I would have as a layman is that that's been quite successful, but is it that we're seeing it doesn't work for everyone and so you're always better targeting specifically?
It is quite successful, and it has made a major impact, particularly for patients with breast cancer, but it hasn't really yet led to cures. And what we're really trying to achieve...
So it's treatment rather than cure.
It's treatment rather than cure. And for immunotherapies, we are still at the stage for the majority of patients of the same scenario, treatment rather than cure, but we do see individual patient cures. And with the next generation of immunotherapies that are coming about, I would expect we see more cures. And as we are combining agents to have larger impact, we call that transformational effects, we actually are going to see more cures for a large number of patients.
Because it's interesting, breast cancer, and again, I'm not a scientist, but the general public has the impression it is one of the, you've had an improvement, and one of the recovery rates in breast cancer is one of the better ones. So it's interesting you're doing this. Presumably you will help it be even better. But what about those cancers that don't have as good a recovery rate as breast cancer? Is this kind of technology going to move into those areas too?
It's actually started in those areas. We haven't done much with it in breast cancer yet. We will going in that area as well. So we started in melanoma. Melanoma was a disease that, particularly here in Australia, has a very high incidence, is fatal, and for almost all patients that are diagnosed with metastatic disease, and had a median survival of 6 months just 5 years back. And chemotherapy was the only option. The first immunotherapy that was successful was actually approved by the US FDA in 2011 in metastatic melanoma, and it was the first drug to improve survival in metastatic melanoma. And it has added on 3 to 4 months of median survival for those patients, but it actually has also done something else. About 20 to 25% of patients live a long time. They can live 5 to 10 years or more after diagnosis, which is unheard of. There has been no therapy that could do that.
So it's interesting what you're saying. While a lot of these advances have not given us a cure, they have certainly helped lifespan.
Yes. And
we've made great advances, even though it's frustrating about cancer treatment, isn't it?
It is. But, you know, when you look at the way oncologists look at cures in cancer, once a patient has achieved 5 years of being free of disease, or even 10 years, you would consider that a cure. And those patients, in many cases, are free of disease.
Are we in a post-chemotherapy world, or is it just that chemotherapy is old technology?
It's definitely old technology, and we're not yet in a post-chemotherapy world, but we will be. So the first two immunotherapies that have been approved recently, which are called checkpoint modulators, they basically remove the brake from the immune system, so the immune system can be more effectively targeting the cancer. They have actually already in phase 3 studies, so the definitive trials that tell you what a drug can do, they have already eliminated chemotherapy as a standard treatment for melanoma and more recently from lung cancer. So you will see other things happen in other diseases because these drugs actually work in the more rare diseases where in the past we have not been able to make the immune system work.
You work for GlaxoSmithKline, one of the biggest companies in the world, and yet you've only got this one board seat on this little company in Australia, listed in Australia. Why is that?
It is because I got excited about the technology, actually several years back before I even joined GlaxoSmithKline. And with a friend of mine who is from Australia, we started the company in 2012. So I later joined GlaxoSmithKline, and they allowed me to continue to be involved because we determined there is no conflict of interest and both could coexist.
What is it about Australia? We have a good biotech sector, a lot of interest from the US. It hasn't taken off like the US, where it's very hot at the moment. We still struggle to get money.
Yeah, funding here is different than in the US. It's certainly true. Supporting biotech companies with fundraising of all sorts, be it venture capital money or be it public money, is much easier in the US. And the biotech story has a bubble right now. There's clearly a lot going on.
Oh, you think it is a bubble?
I think there is a bubble. There's a lot of substance in it, but there's also a little bit of hype. So the totality of that has made the markets very hot.
Do you see the bubble bursting anytime soon? Are we talking a tech bubble type scenario?
Nobody knows that. I wouldn't be able to make a good prediction, but certainly there will be, over time, there will have to be some changes.
So what does that mean for Australia? If we haven't got into the bubble mentality, will we inevitably suffer and have even fewer funds? Or because we're not in a bubble, will we just go along on our own little path, attracting those and doing the good things we do?
Well, I would dare to say that Australia is missing out right now. You could certainly invest more and actually make small companies like Imogen flourish more than they do right now.
What's the problem here on money? I mean, I know the US has more money, more people, but we have money to spend on other areas. Do you think, is it government? Is it our superannuation funds? Is it just investors who are not good on this, don't understand it?
I think biotech is young here in Australia, and the investor community is relatively small. I think there's only about 100 biotech companies in Australia that could be invested in. So it's a growing area, and awareness needs to be raised. I think there's a lot that can be done.
It's interesting because investors are put off. People say it's high risk, high reward. I always compare it to the mining sector here, where you would drill wells and only one out of hundreds might hit oil or hit gold. Yet that didn't stop Australians doing that. We were great at doing it. So I guess it's a mindset, isn't it?
It's a matter of introduction. I think there's still too few people that have knowledge about biotech and biotech investments. And, you know, the trends are set by the US. So it seems like the Australian market is still following very timidly the US trends. And with time, I think if there's a bit more knowledge gathered here and biotech investors get more savvy, you should see a lot more investment.
That's from the investment side, but what about from the expertise? I mean, the fact that Imogen is an Australian, you talk to Australian, obviously we have the brains here and the concepts and the companies are here.
So curiously, you're right, we have good science in Australia, and there's good academic centers that contribute technologies that can be invested in, but the technology for Imogen actually comes out of Europe.
Ah, okay.
It is serendipitous that it landed in Australia. So, which is not to say that it can't be something that could originate here.
Okay. So, interesting about the bubble, and good luck at the New Zealand conference, and hopefully you've inspired a few people to start looking. Certainly, at least you've given us encouragement on the next stage in cancer treatment, which is
very
good.
happy to do. Yes,
thank you very much for your time. It's Dr. Axel Hoos, and the company is called Imogen.